Hello fellow map makers, welcome to tonight's live map making session. Hope you're all good and eager to do another mapping session. I have to apologize for cancelling last week's session, but lightning and thunderstorms were going around and I've had some bad experiences in the past with lightning strikes causing spikes in the local power grid and frying my computer, and I don't want to risk that again, so you don't go offline during thunderstorms here. And but no lightning, no thunderstorms inside here today, so hope we are good to go. As long as you can hear me, please let me know if the sound is bad or anything, but the display looks good for the sound. Alright, what's to the night's map making topic? It's modern atlas style. As you can see on the screen, a vector style that emulates modern topographical maps, as you commonly see in atlases. And this one is actually a favorite, or one very dear to my heart, because it's one of the first maps and map styles I developed myself. This is the Gendor map for my old, now very old, role-playing campaign world. I spent many years adventuring and DMing role-playing groups in. I had a big campaign going for over 20 years in that world, and that world was the first I started mapping with campaign Cartographer, then CC with, and the outlines of the map you see on screen here were actually created first on paper, but then transferred painstakingly to the computer via CC. So this is not a Fractal Terrains map or anything, though we'll be using Fractal Terrains tonight. But it does share a bit of a similar look, and the color scheme is actually taken from an atlas I had at the time, and we'll see how we can recreate that with a Fractal Terrains export. Yeah, so let's take a look what we want to do. The modern atlas style is a full-blown style on its own that you can use to create maps from scratch, and but it's also set up to take in exports from Fractal Terrains easily. So we'll take a look at that in a moment, looking into Fractal Terrains and how to use it. But first, let me show you the setup if you just want to start a new map with the style by creating all the outlines and contours yourself. For that, you can choose the typical overlap maps, decide settings yourself, and then the annual modern atlas style up here. There we are. This is obviously best used for rectangular maps, not like the round orthographic map you see here in the background as the example map. But for that we also do have some predefined templates that allow you to do maps like these quickly and easily. And so if you want to do a special setup like this one, choose the pick a predefined template option and click next, and then you'll get several templates here starting with CA34 to start your map on. This is the same style, just using a predefined template. There's also some little, we redid the modern atlas style in another version with new templates a while later, so you can also use the CA87 maps for the style. They are similar, but the original ones are the ones up there. Just a little bit of a refresh here. No, I've managed to lock up the display. Okay, playing around too much with this. Here we are again. And this is the simple template for polar projection, meaning you're looking on the North Pole of the map. Not the most common of map views, because on Earth the polar region are not inhabited and not that often used. Therefore, you see this type of map projection fairly rarely. On my special world, on my own campaign world, the most interesting regions were close to the North Pole, and therefore I used this projection a lot. And we'll see how we can create one from Fractal Terrains in a minute. So let's take a look at Fractal Terrains first. So I'll put Campaign Cartographer into the background. And I do have Fractal Terrains and a pre-generated map up on screen here, with the default color scheme for Fractal Terrains Plus. And we can edit this to our heart's content and create new maps and anything, but I don't want to go into the details of map world creation in Fractal Terrains in this video. Instead, we'll just look at the export and changing the color scheme, because I want to go to that specific color scheme I used in the Modern Atlas style. And we do have a color scheme for that here in Fractal Terrains as well. Okay, sorry about that. I have to turn off the phone here for a second. Alright, so we're looking at the color schemes, and we do have the gender color scheme here, which is the color scheme I used for the Modern Atlas style. And if you choose a color scheme here, click load and then apply, and there's our world coloring here. It does use shading here in the Fractal Terrains version of the map, which is makes stuff a little bit more visible, but this will not, the shadows will not be exported into Campaign Cartographer. It will be the colors only. And if you want to see the map here without the shading on the altitude, you can always turn that off by going to the intensity here and set the shadows to none, and then you get the color contours only. Alright, so let's do a first try and simply export this map to the export setting to our Modern Atlas style, and we can simply do that by going to File, Save Campaign Cartographer File, and then we do have the legacy C3 Modern Atlas style here. Actually, you might not have that in Fractal Terrains Plus, this setting, if you if you recently installed Fractal Terrains, because this is not included in there automatically, and the old annual doesn't have the style setting for, it doesn't install it for Fractal Terrains Plus yet, because when we created that setup for the annual volume 3, Fractal Terrains 3 Plus wasn't released yet. So how do you get this setting in there? That's fairly easy. Let's have a quick look at our Windows Explorer. Let's have a look at our program data file for C3 Plus, the annual, and then we do have the annual issue 34, Modern Atlas, and in there is our export setting for the Modern Atlas. This is the XPT files, and you can copy that, go to program data folder for Fractal Terrains 3.5, 3+, which is the same. Go into export and copy the file into here, and then I renamed it to legacy just to show that it's one of the old export settings. That's how I got the CA34 Modern Atlas export setting into Fractal Terrains. Next time you load up the Campaign Cartographer export, you'll see that setting in there. You don't actually need to do any changes to it. It will work just as like that without any problem. And click Export World, and then we save this exported world into our folder and switch back to Campaign Cartographer and load up the map. And here we've got our setup. You can see it's the whole world with the grid setting and everything, the colors and stuff. And we might want to do a few adjustments, but what it is obviously not is the polar view of the setting I wanted to create. So we need to go into Fractal Terrains and have another look what we can change to create a circular map like we have in our example map. And for that we need to change our display, our view of the map of the world in Fractal Terrains 3+, because Fractal Terrains, when you export Campaign Cartographer, it always takes the current view, the shape and zoom level of the view and exports that into Campaign Cartographer. And if you want to have a different look at the world, a different view of the world map, then we need to change those things. So let's have a look and go into map and the change projection, and we do have a lot of different projections here in Fractal Terrains which we can choose to export, but I'm looking to that for that polar view I had, and the best one to get this in Fractal Terrains is the orthographic view. Basically the orthographic view is like you would look from space onto the world, so you see half of the globe with severe distortions at the edges, but that's what we get with a polar view. And we'll just take a look at this. Yeah, here we go. And there's our view like we're looking at the globe from space. And we can rotate our globe here to view different sections of the world, and we can also go into the projection view again to set the settings here back to the basics. Here we go. And let's have a look how this looks when we export it. And save Campaign Cartographer 3+ file, choose our Modern Atlas style, export again, and switch to Campaign Cartographer and have a look at this version of the map. Some extents, and here's our map. And as you can see, we now have a nice polar view actually of the map. Except perhaps we might want another ring on the grid for the map, because we have a very large section. This is because, I'll show you in a moment in Fractal Terrains how this, why the grid isn't complete in here. That's usually done in maps because the longitude lines converge on the North Pole, and then they get very dense and cover all the other stuff if you keep them until the very top to the actual North Pole. That's why you kept them at a lower longitude. And how to do that in Cartographer, in Fractal Terrains. Let's have a quick look. Here we go. For that we need to go into... no, actually we don't need to go into the settings. We go into the overlay window. Or actually... No, not entirely sure right now. Map, grid settings, here we are. But as I can see, I don't have a grid defined here on the map exactly, so the grid settings will actually be in the exports. Yeah, because the export setting has its own separate grid settings. Modern Atlas, and then let's edit this. And here you can see some of the options. We only want the altitude colors. We're not going for the temperature, anything in here, but I don't want to change this at the moment. That's fine to use it as it is. That's the different settings for the various contours we are exporting. I actually have to check that I'm setting the map export to meters, because this setting is set up for metric template. As you can see, the maximum height is 10,000 meters, so 10,000 foot would be fairly low altitude as a maximum for imperial unit world. And this is the detail settings. These are fine as well. And for the rectangular grid, no. And here's our grid. And here this is the polar end caps. That's what I meant. The grid is capped. Oh, and the cat is stopping by. Hi, Asa. Say hi to everybody. Hello. Say hi, Asa. Hi, Asa. Okay, so instead of 20 degrees, I'm going to set it to a 10-degree end cap, and that way we get one further circle, but we'll still have the center of clear. And export it again, overwrite the current map, and reload this. And there you can see that's just the 10-degree longitude caps the latitude, caps the longitudes that way. Longitudes are the ones running north-south, latitudes are the ones running east-west. Yeah, we have our cat supervisor there, so nothing can go wrong now. Or we are in trouble if anything goes wrong. Alright, so we've got the basic setup of the map here, with a focus on the center here, with the interesting land bridge near our North Pole, and so it's looking quite nice. We do have a few things. We do have the lowest, we have some stuff missing, basically the lowest contour in the sea. This is obviously in export, so that the lowest one is missing there, but we can add this easily later. But what I also would like to include is rivers, and we don't have done the rivers yet. So let's have a look, going back into Fractal Terrains, and let's generate some rivers on the map. Tools, rivers, find rivers. We're gonna do fairly very fine rivers, high detail. Sorry about that. And takes a moment for Fractal Terrains to calculate our rivers, because it's really looking at all the altitude data and the possible courses that water will flow. Here you have the ability to do longer or shorter rivers, and let's do a darker color so we can actually see these rivers better. You can see, let's zoom in a bit. Actually, let's do these first. Okay. Operation in progress. There are our rivers. Let's take a zoom in, and there you can see our river flows. Because of the fractal generation of the map and the difficulties of generating these river flows can be a bit strange and blocky in fractal terrains, and I often usually only use them as guidelines for my actual rivers on the map, but you'll see this in a moment, or we'll have a look. And let's export this to Campaign Cartographer. And another reload of the map. And here are our rivers in the map. Well, they're actually pretty good. Fractal Terrains 3 Plus has improved the river generation, I think, so these are looking already pretty good. Might sometimes get some strange things like parallel river courses here. These are a bit weird, but in general these are very useful, and you can delete or add stuff as you need it. Alright, so what I wanted to add is the lowest contour background. Let's have a look. This is our lowest color so far, or is it? Yeah, actually it is. And let's make that even a bit darker. And now I want to add this as the background for the circle here. For that I'm gonna set the color, choose my circle tool and set the center to 0.0. That should, no, it's not actually the center here of the map. I expected it to be the center of the map. In that case, what we'll do instead, we'll grab the innermost circle here and see whether we can, using the F4, the center modifier on that circle, we'll put our new circle right in the center. And then we are going to go up here and put this on the outermost grid line. And then send it to the back, because at the moment it's covering all the other water contours. So what we're going to do is center back, right click, prior, for do it. And there's our lowest contour on the map. At this point, because the edges of the export can always be a bit weird, I'm gonna put a wider border on this, on the grid layer. Okay, the X square grid has ended up on the political borders sheet. So that's probably because we just reused then an old export setting and didn't go through the sheet setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename this to grid, because the layer is already correct. We're on the hex square grid layer, and now I'm going to put in a bit of a line width of 10. See how wide this is. Choose a solid fill style. Reuse the center from the last circle we did, also by simply right clicking, and then put this here. And as we can see, it's not wide enough to cover our little bit ragged edge. So what I'm going to do is going to right click here, change line width, prior, do it, and put it in line width by hand. And there we've got Okay, that's what we're seeing up here is the now the screen. That's what the name I was looking for. Sorry about that. It didn't come to my mind. The screen is covering this up, and to change this, we'll simply move the grid below the screen sheet, and there our white border for the map is above the screen. Good. So here we go. We've got the map set up, we've got our nice polar view, and we can now add the rest of our map to that. For example, I think we do have a contour bar for the style in here. Let's have a look. Say, draw, insert file. Go to that's video streams pro fantasy. Where's my Cartographer's annuals? 34 modern atlas. No, I don't have that in there. Oh, yes, I do. There's the contour key. And here it is. We can scale this up. And there's our contours on the map. Might perhaps want to move this a little bit. There we go. We can now start putting in cities and structures and other material for our map. Here we do have some simple structure symbols for cities and other locations here in the map. They would normally use a dark gray for these in the map style, the modern atlas style. And let's take a look in here, grab a city, say one of our metropolises. We just have to see what size is appropriate for this map. So let's do a scaling by eye first, see, so our symbol is appropriate. It's still fairly small, but if you want to do a lot of work on the map, that it might be appropriate. So we're saying we have an important city here at this land bridge. And actually we should change this to the appropriate layer first. Still put it on the hex and square grid, don't want that. It should be on the structures layer. There we go. Symbol went on the symbols sheet automatically, so that is fine. And now let's have a look at the scale. So I have 9.4 here. So what I'm going to do to set our default symbol scale, I go into the drawing properties and set our symbol scale to 10. And I should also put in the text sheet in here. That's because I'm in the Fractal Terrains export, which is not linked to a new template because it was an old export setting. So what we need to set these things, because back then the Fractal Terrains export settings didn't do these automatically. And we can set the style here as well to our annual modern atlas style. Very good. And what we also I'm going to erase that again and just put in that symbol at our default scale. So I have this scaled correctly to any other symbols I want to put in. And then I can go in and label this. So let's have a look. Go on text cities. Oh, back there in that style, I still set them all text features all up on their own separate layers. I haven't done that in a while. Very diligent back then. And then let's take a look at the font style we have set in here. So let's see. I'm gonna align this so I can. It will be, the symbol will be to the bottom left. So B for bottom and L for left. Set a nice size. Here we go. Then I'm gonna use our extract properties on the text. And have a look. Oops, that's the text editing. I want to take a look at the text specs. So looking at that, height 60 seems to about right, 0 angle, and I don't want to use Times New Roman. Instead, I want to use Verdana as our text font. Use new matrix is fine. Okay, and now I'm going to use change properties on this. Touch the height, touch the font, so these get changed. I can of course also set it to change everything here, and then it will play all the settings to the style. There we are. And while very small at this full scale, if I want to say I want to make a large scale print or a poster map export from this, this looks about right as the labeling size for the map. So what else can we do while we're at it? If we do want to clean up the rivers and edit these, what we can always do is simply grab our river drawing style here and put in, although I think the fractalization is very strong on this one, so what I might want to do, first I'm going to remove that exported river, and this is really too much fractalization compared to the outline of our coast. The two don't really match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the default river tool and take a look at the options here and reduce them. It's like only 25% strength and only depth 2. Okay. And this looks better at the scale we are working on. Gonna erase that. And so we've got a similar looking fractalization depth to the other exported rivers from Fractal Terrains. Also, if you've got a river that stops here at some point, so Fractal Terrains didn't draw it all the way to the end, you can always go in and just add this by attaching this to the existing pieces and erase smaller sections like this. And so in time, clean up your map as you go around and change the areas, the various areas where you detail them. What we can also, of course, do if you want to make the rivers a little bit wider, more visible, what we can do is we can, if we extract properties, say change line width by layer water rivers, do it, and let's put in 5. As you can see, the width is quite okay, but we are we have a hollow fill style. So what we need to do is we need to change fill style, select by prior, do it, and set a solid fill style. And this way the rivers will be a little bit more visible on a printout. Though we might get little problematic bits and pieces here. That's the problem with the polar export, because the projection tends to get it's very bunched up compared to the rest of the map. The closer you get to the North Pole, the more problematic your map pieces, your rivers will be. So these don't look good in line with either we redraw them or we can undo our white lines. Let's do that for the moment. Edit, undo, undo, and leave the rivers here as is. As you can see, the calculations near the pole with the rivers do get a bit towards their breaking point in Fractal Terrains. Good. So that's I'm not going to go through labeling the whole map here. What else I wanted to show you is how to create a political map from a map like this one here. So let's have a quick look at one of my sample maps. Let's take a look. Just trying to think where I have it located, whether I've got it in this Cartographer's annual style. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, there's the political map. See, that's the same layout version, some differences here, but with a different focus. The focus not on the altitude data, but on political entities instead. So what I want to do is to show you how to set up something like this fairly quickly and easily from the Fractal Terrains export we had. So let's first save this and as a different map. That's my world 2 political. And what we're going to do first, I want to change the contour lines to a more neutral version, so I can do the colored political maps above that. And so I'm gonna hide everything but the contours land sheet. So I've got these. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the color of the lowest contour to something neutral here, and then change the fill style of everything else. Oh no, actually change fill style all, not by color. Once more, sorry about that, missed a step there. All of them combine not by color, F2, this one, and change this to mostly transparent fill style. And this way we do get this grayish outline or you still see the contours, but they're not in different colors, but simply in different darkening shades. And we can draw our political outlines about that fairly easily. Let's have a look whether we've got a political tool. Yeah, we've got a political boundaries tool set up with the current map. Let's change this to a bright purple, and then we can connect this to the coast. Use the trace command to go a bit along the coast here, all the way up to here, and then draw the interior border all the way up around here along the mountains and then back to the coast. Let's have a look. And obviously the border sheet has not been set up in the export, so we're going to move it up so it's below the borders sheet, and we are gonna add a transparency effect to that, 50%. Yeah, it's probably still a bit too strong, so what we might want to do is move it further up so it's below the rivers and the symbols are already down here, but below the rivers, and make this even more transparent. Only 30% opacity. Let's move these symbols up a bit here. That looks quite nice. And what we can also do is add a bit of a glow, a darker outline. Where's my borders? There are my borders. Add an outer glow. Same color. With 10 might be nice. Just a very small blur. Stronger opacity. I think we need to move this up. Okay, we have a bit of a weird interaction here, as I can see that the outer glow gets rid of the interior transparency here. Okay, so let's try that differently. Delete and use inner glow instead. Doesn't really work with the transparent together with the transparency. In fact, so what we can do instead is what I'm gonna do will let me set these up separately anyway. Is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a new sheet, borders outline. And copy the existing to the borders outline, and then I could put in effect, or what I want to do is actually I want to change the properties of that and make that solid, still solid, and the line width 5. And now I've managed to crash Command Cartographer. Alright, not sure what happened there. Okay, That was annoying. Not sure what happened there. You get a little preview of the annual coming up, because that's now the last saved map here. Let's see what the autosave has stored. Luckily, autosaved has preserved my the sheet I created. So okay, show all. What have I done here? Let's have a look. Oh, one thing before we do anything else, resave your autosave file as the previous one, otherwise you'll be working on the autosave drawing, and that might not be the best of ideas. That's my videos. Here we are. Fantasy Streams, Modern Atlas, political map. Info list on the border sheet. Hide all. Yeah, okay. So I want to copy this to another sheet. Copy to sheet. There we are. Sorry. Sorry about that. My borders outline sheet. Now go to borders outline. Change the property. Save first before we do anything else. Change the properties. Do it. Fill style solid. And line width 5. There we are. No problems this time. Don't know what the program didn't like there. And there's my map as I was planning to do it. I can now even change my political tools. Drawing tool to take account of this. Let's have a look here. My political version. I have everything set up here as I wanted with the current color. Ah, yeah, thank you, Sue. Sorry about that. I haven't actually resized the window to the proper size again. Here we are. That should be better. Thanks. I completely forgot. I was now working on the full screen. Right, so I was working on the political drawing tool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add an outline, extra entity, and put that on the borders outline sheet. Current color is fine. Width is 5. And this should go on the borders political layer. The fill style should be solid. And everything else is fine. So we can now use the same tool to add political entities in same kind of color scheme. So let's just show you how to connect these borders together. So as usual, if I start up with a section here where I trace the coastline. Oops, that's not T for trace. Starting here. Go on close to the end of here where the other border meets the coastline. Then start tracing again and use the other coastline up to here, and then draw the rest of the border. Okay, yeah, there's one thing I've done, or a couple of things I've done wrong actually. Let's take a look at the tool again. Either my coloring was off. Outline, properties, current color should be right. What I should be doing here, because I don't want this to end up on borders outline, I should remove the asterisk here. And let's try that again to see whether the tool works correctly now. Because I was on the borders outline sheet, I think both of the parts, both the partially transparent polygon and the outline went on the same sheet, which they shouldn't do. Trace, press a point on the entity where to start. Select the endpoint for the trace. There we go. Trace the next entity. And finish. Somehow the color does change back to blue. I'm not entirely sure why it does that now. Let's have a just change color by combine and color 69. Do it 250. There we are. Why did the outline go to blue? Let's have a quick check again. Here we go. Borders political. Now I pick the new color. Thread. Does it change back to blue at some point? No, that's weird. My drawing color is red, but the outline stays in. Because perhaps I need to change the color before I use the drawing tool. Though it shouldn't be doing this. Normally, it should be quite possible to simply change the color during using the drawing tool. Let's have a quick look. What happens if we change the color before the command? Yeah, then it works correctly. So, okay, that might be a minor bug I've just found, as usual, and something that should be fixed. I'll put it on the list. Anyway, that's how you set up your political map. You would, of course, then change here remove the altitude key. It doesn't make any sense on this version of the map. And then you can put in your text in the same color as the borders. That'd be our nation name, center, and enlarge the text. And you might perhaps put a bit of a drop shadow effect here. Map units. And that way you can build your political map. So we probably don't want the drop shadow effect on the smaller text. That doesn't look good. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to move this to a new sheet. Not the river though. Add text countries. Okay, and then we grab that style and paste it on this sheet. And that way we've got the structure, the city text without the drop shadow again, and the larger nation text with the drop shadow. All right. Yes, and that's taken me through the whole process of creating a map in Fractal Terrains and exporting it into Campaign Cartographer, adding features in there on the topographical map and converting the topographical map into a political one. And I've used that in the past to create my own world maps for my own campaign game, and it's always been great fun. If you are doing, can perhaps take I've got a few minutes. Let's take a quick look on the types of maps I created in this style back in the day. So let's see how this looks on my own maps for my gender world. There we are. The world map. Let's have a look what we you still see. This is the old DOS version of the map. That's the time when there were no solid fills, only lines in different colors in Campaign Cartographer. This is an converted map basically from the old DOS mapping into the CC2 format back then. You can see there are no solid lines for the rivers either. You use double lines, basically drawing them twice to create a little bit of wider look for the rivers. This is how we did the shadows on the mountains. That's been a really long time ago. But you can see the outline is still the same as it is in the latest maps today. And for the gender map, here with both the northern and the southern hemisphere. What I did with these, I imported these with a painstaking process into the outlines into Fractal Terrains and used that to export that again into Campaign Cartographer maps. So this is a normal cylindrical projection, actually a rectangular projection from the created Fractal Terrains map back into Campaign Cartographer. And here you can see the sections that would be most prominent on the polar map. So you can see the northern continent. That was the main place where all the gaming took place, and because it was a continent encapsulating the North Pole, it was most useful to have a polar projection for the map, and that's why I originally created that version. And then focus map on the oceans with ocean currents and things. This is the political map. I think this is not linked up. There were regional maps created from this. That's why the red outline is there still. And so on. And this is then the Fractal Terrains export taken and converted into the Mercator style from one of the annuals. So I've redone this map several times in different versions. And it's fun to have all those around. Well, okay, I hope you like that, the modern atlas style and what you can do with it. I'm still a great fan of modern atlases and the clear information they convey. and it was nice to do something like that in Campaign Cartographer as well. So for the next few weeks, I'll not be available. I will be away on holiday for most of June, and I hope Remy is there and might take up 1 or 2 sessions, but make video sessions during that time. But I'll be back towards the end of June and do more live mapping then. Until then, have a nice rest of May and start of June, and do a lot of new nice maps. Looking forward to see what you create on the forum and the Facebook group. All the best. See you and happy mapping. Bye bye.